Hello friends. So today we will discuss about the MVC interview question and answer. MVC is stand for Model View Controller and MVC is the .NET development framework. And if you are a .NET developer and have you get chance to work with the MVC and if you are going to face any interview, so I hope these question will surely asked by the interview to you. So our first question will be, what is MVC? Right. So the first question, what is the MVC is? Answer is it's a architecture design pattern to use the separate application logic and making application easier to develop, test and maintain. This is the definition. So what exactly meaning of this one? So MVC is the model view controller, as I already told you that MVC is the model view controller. Means model view, V means view, and C stand for the controller. So model represent the data and business logic, right? View represent the exactly HTML which is rendered on the browser, and controller which used to handle the user request, right? This is also used to communicate between the model and now let's discuss with example how MVC works, right? So suppose you, suppose uh, you are a user, right? And this is the system, right? Now you hit any URL like www.abcregistration.com, www.abcregistration.com. From here, what will happen? Once you click, so there will be a page open. So that page which you will see is view. So once you hit the URL, then what will happen? It will go to the controller first. Controller have a specific which controller you are going to call, right? And in the controller, which method you are going to access, and that method will go to the model, and model will manipulate your data, and then it return to controller, and controller will respond accordingly to the view, and then you can see your view. So suppose if you are going to register uh, any form at that time, it's the application is developed in the MVC, right? So the page which is open in front of you in the text box and drop down list, that is in view format, right? In HTML format, it will render in the HTML format. As we know that the browser always render HTML, right? So that view you can see. Once you click on that view and hit fill the form and hit, then the controller method in which the all the detail is there, it will ask that the registration method need to call, because there where all the details are there. So in the registration, suppose this is the method, right? Here this is the method. So in that method, all the details you filled, then all the method detail which you fill will submit by the this model property, right? ID, string, name, all these things, right? And all these property it go to the database once all the details which is required for the registration is filled, then database will save the data, and after that it respond that record has saved successfully. So the message means from the controller it go to the model from there it's go to the database where it save the information, and then model again come to the controller and say that the record has saved. So that message again controller send to the view, and the end user you can see that record has been saved. So this is the complete architecture. This is the simplest way I explained you how the model view controller works. Now come to the each point. So what is the model? Model represent the data and the business logic, right? And it's communicate with the database while read the data. So model is mainly used to represent the data and the business logic. View is represent the UI value and display the data to the user. And the controller, which is mainly used to handle the user request, coordinates between the model and view and return the response. As I said that the request means which controller, which method you are going to call, that is handled by the controller, right? And once the method is clear, then basis of that method, it's process the data, and once we get the response from after processing the data, so that response sent to the view. So that is the model view controller, right? So here you can see that the model view controller, first controller, then model, then view, and then again controller, right? So this is the request response two-way binding happened in the MVC. I hope you understand MVC architecture. Now you can see what is the user flow means MVC flow. So first user request, then it's go to the user request, go to the controller, then controller get the data and logics sent to the model, and the model process the data and return to the view, and then it's come to the response. This is the something about the architecture, right? What is the feature of MVC? So in MVC, it's a design pattern, right? And it's earlier our web form was the event base, where MVC is the pattern base, right? In the MVC, complete control we have, right? Like if we want to change the view, then we can change the view, right? Whereas in the view web form, it was limited. In testing, it's very easy in MVC, whereas in the web form, it was completely difficult, right? In the view state feature, in MVC, no, but here in the web form, yeah, view state was there. Why we use the MVC? First is the separation concern, second is the easy to maintain, and third is the testability core, fourth is a full control over HTML, and fifth is the support TDD. What is a TDD? Test driven development. Test driven development is unit testing, we can do it by the MVC. Here again, what is MVC? So I am simplifying the MVC definition here again so that you can learn it. So MVC stands for the model view controller. It is the architecture or design pattern that separate the application into three responsibility. Model is used for the data and the business logic, right? Always remember, model is used for the data and the business logic. UI representation, we use the view, and controller is used to handle the HTTP request and the response. It's also interact with the end user, right? Interview answer if someone is asking to you what is MVC. So MVC is separate concern. So concern so UI request handle application data logic can be developed and tested independently. Right? Why we use MVC? As I said, that the separation concern, better maintain, right? And better testability, reuse the component. Reuse component, any component parcel view. If same parcel you use to another page, you can use very easily, right? Clear code, parallel development, right? And easier to scalable. Now, this is the explanation of the MVC architecture flow. This is the third question. Two question was repeated only because of you can learn, right? Our third question is MVC architecture. So what happened? First, a user come to the browser. So once user come to the browser, then what happened? It's come to the browser and then HTTP request happen, right? HTTP request happens after that. It's go to the routing which controller need to call, which method need to call, which action need to call. No? So routing defined that the first we have to call controller, then action method, right? Then is it parameter or not? Parameter is optional or what? So everything is here, right? In the routing, route data table from where it map, right? So controller call means HTTP request, then routing, then controller, then action method, then business logic which is the model, right? And then database, then controller, then view, and then response, and then browse. So what happens? So first of all it's go to the browser, then after the browser it's go to the routing, after the routing it go to the controller, after the controller it go to the action method, and after the action method it go to the business logic, which is also we can say model, and then models return. After the model, if is there any database is there, then database, right? It's also the model things, right? And then it's come to the controller once again, right? And then it's return to the view, and view return to the HTTP response. Is there any confusion? Then please ping me. I can give you exact answer. Advantage already discussed. Separation concern, easy to unit test, clean architecture, better maintainability, reusability component, and flexible UI. Better control over HTTP and support large enterprise application. What are the three component of the MVC? The main means as I think you are a MVC developer, then you know all these things. But question interviewer can ask in different way, right? Sometimes it's asked what is the MVC, what is the MVC architecture, why we use the MVC. Sometimes it's asked what are the three main component of the MVC. So that is also the model view controller, right? But you have to tell in same way that the component of the MVC is the model, view, and controller. Model is used for the business logic, database, right? And the domain logic. View is used as user interface. Controller is used for request handling, right? Request handling and response, providing the response to the user, right? So what is the controller? So controller now once you reply about the MVC and model view controller separately in one words, after that user interviewer can ask to you what is the controller, right? So controller handle the incoming request and decide what response should be retained, right? So returning response also very important because only taking this request are incoming request if you are handling only, it's not sufficient until if you are not responding the proper response to the end use, right? So handling the incoming request and responding the response, right? Both is handled by the controller. So what is the controller? Controller is used to handle the incoming request and decide what response should be returned. What is view? A view is the response for displaying the data to the user. Usually, it's a CSHTML page which is written in the razor format, right? So, at the rate model, if you write, so whatever the model property you have written, all the property you can see as a drop down in your view. You can write it, and after that, that will be bind you with your model property. So what is the model? So model represent application data and domain business concept, right? What is the action methods? So action method comes inside the controller, right? So whatever the methods we write, that is handled by the action method. I action result is there, right? And I action result detail int id if some method is there, right? So that detail is the name of the method, right? And inside the detail, if you have write the detail list value, so that will be returned, right? So that is action method. What are the common action result type? So action result type of the different view result, JSON result, redirect result, file result, content result, not found result, bad request result, okay result, empty result, right? View result means it's return the view, right? If from the action method, if you are returning view, so it's called view result. If you are returning the JSON, so it's come inside the JSON result, right? If if you are redirecting this method to another method, at that time you write the redirect result. Or if you are redirecting to your result to some another URL anywhere, so it's that time we redirect. If you are uh, returning the file, right? So that at that time we use the file result. Content result, if any content you are returning. No found result, nothing. If you are bad request, means request is not proper, right? Okay result means result is okay. So these are the types of result. Here like view result, sorry. Here is the view result, right? Then okay result, then not found result, bad request, right? And then redirect action.